And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
Well, John, now that Kamala's out, who's left? Antonio Villaraigosa once again shot a cheap iPhone ad in front of a Rite Aid with a bunch of locked-up merchandise.
As you can see, all around me, everything is locked behind glass doors. People of California voted for Prop 36, the Smash and Grab initiative. This proposition needs to be funded. The people have spoken. Let's fund it. Let's do the right thing.
Now, is he whispering because he's not really supposed to be shooting a commercial inside a store like that? Or is he whispering because that's the loudest he can talk at the age of 73?
It's a jump ball. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to more calls later on in the program. I know a lot of you want to weigh in on today's breaking news. Right now, it is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the editor of the Kaus Files. You can get him online at kausfiles.com. Follow him on X at Mickey Kaus. Welcome.
Thanks, John. Rite Aid never has any goods on the shelves anyway.
That's true.
I mean, have you been to a Rite Aid lately? The shelves are bare.
Yeah, and whenever you want ice cream, there's no one there either.
That violates my dietary restrictions, John.
Well, I'm sure it violates mine, but I eat it anyway. Mickey, it's great to have you back. Thanks so much for stopping by. So today, the breaking news is that the former vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, announced that she would not be running for governor of California. A number of the current candidates who are in the race indicated when they first got in that if she entered the race, they would reevaluate their position in the race, look at the polls and look at the endorsements, those sorts of things, and determine whether or not they would stay in the race or run for something else. But now that she's out, it looks like everyone will be staying in, and maybe even some more names will be jumping in the race. Are you surprised that Kamala Harris decided to take a pass?
No, I think somebody must have. It's a combination of coming to her senses and egomania. The egomania is she wants to run for president again. She's deluded into thinking that she has a shot at that. The common sense is that somebody presented her with some polls about how she's unpopular in California, and she risks a huge embarrassment, which would, of course, it didn't stop Richard Nixon, but would put a crimp in her presidential plans. She is a weird, I think she's still, there was a story in the Daily Mail that she blamed her husband for the loss because he had an affair with a nanny, and that was bad publicity. She can't be that deluded. But the slow, agonizing process by which she comes to realize that the voters just aren't that into her is going to be painful to go through for all of us.
What do you think Democrats are saying right now when they meet privately? They're having dinner parties, whatever, and they're talking about what candidate would be good to run against J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or whomever the Republicans put up in 2028. When the name Kamala Harris comes up, does it come up in the context of, I think she's got a shot, I think she's someone who could win the nomination, I think she's someone who could win the presidency, or is it in the context of, oh my God, I think she might run, what are we going to do to avoid this train wreck?
I think it's more of the latter, although I'm not sure it would be such a train wreck. She would lose in the primaries, and that would be that. And the person who beat her would could pretend to be a giant killer, although that would not be the case. But I think it's pretty, just from the seat of my pants, the Democrats are thinking, should we pick somebody like Josh Shapiro, who's going to move the party to the right, or should we go with the Mamdani AOC wing? And I don't know which wing is going to win. I know which wing I'm with, but that seems to be the split, and I think Kamala Harris sort of falls between the cracks there, even if she wasn't wildly unpopular and not suited for the office.
Let's say she made the opposite decision. Let's say she decided she was going to run for governor of California. The way I see it, if she ran and lost either to another Democrat or to a Republican, she's done. The Democrats would never nominate her for president ever again. If she ran and won, and she won, let's say, limping across the finish line, and she inherited all of the problems that we have here in California, whether it be the budget, the insurance crisis, fire mitigation, homelessness, crime, whatever, fill in the blank, and she then has that as part of her portfolio, that is part of her record, I don't see how she wins nationwide either. I see it as a no-win situation for her.
Well, she has to make some progress, and along some of those lines in solving those problems. If she was tough on crime and the crime went down, that would be a good thing to run on. If she brokered a peace on the environment that allowed more construction, that would be something to run on. If she cut the bloated, I assume it's bloated, I haven't looked at the numbers lately, the bloated welfare budgets that the state has, that would be something to run up on. You don't need a lot to run as a governor. I mean, a lot of governors are middling governors, and they just held the line at their states, and they make themselves or break themselves not on the basis of their state record, but on whether they're good candidates and have good ideas. So if she just held the line and was a neutral governor, I think that would help her. I think she would continue to be an embarrassment, but if she could do the job, that would certainly help her, I think. I mean, what did Bill Clinton have to run on when he ran for president? He had some welfare reform that was good, but he had some setbacks too. And the reason he won is because he's Bill Clinton. He was a compelling character.
If she were to run in the Democratic primary, what kind of candidate do you think she would be?
Insecure, scripted, listening to too many consultants who would tell her to do various dramatic things that appeal to this interest group and that. Not very articulate. Might even think it's sort of beneath her to run for governor, having run for president, and not put in the work necessary to do the job right. But I have a limited admiration for this woman. You may have sensed that.
Do you think that she ultimately pulls the trigger and runs for president in 2028?
I don't. I think she's going to be confronting terrible polls. The problem with Kamala Harris is, what else does she do with her life? I mean, this woman is, an empty vessel propelling herself entirely in one direction, up the greasy pole of politics. And unfortunately for her, she reached the top of the greasy pole, or almost to the top, very early in her life. So she has half her life ahead of her, and very little that she's super qualified to do. I mean, she could be an attorney, but that would be a come down. She could be a prosecutor. That would be a huge come down. She could come up with some bogus nonprofit to run. Could be a university president. That's one thing she could be. But the problem is finding the alternative.
Do you think she has the cachet in Democratic Party politics still, where let's just say a Democratic candidate becomes president in 2028? Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, someone like that. Does she have enough cachet to become a Supreme Court justice or to become an attorney general, something like that?
Yes. I think that I would oppose her. I don't think she's qualified to be a Supreme Court justice, but that hasn't stopped people before. So, and the same with Attorney General. I mean, it's she's been the Attorney General of the state. So, yes, I think you could get away with that with minimal controversy.
I want to read something for you and have you respond to it. This is Gavin Newsom's tweet after Kamala Harris made news saying she would not run for governor. Quote, Kamala Harris has courageously served our state and country for her entire career. Whether it be as a prosecutor, attorney general, senator, or vice president, she has always kept a simple pledge at the heart of every decision she's made: for the people. Grateful for her service and friendship, and looking forward to continuing the fight in whatever the future might hold for her. End quote. Do you think that was complimentary or passive aggressive?
I thought it was complimentary. What was passive aggressive about it?
Well,
whatever the future might hold for her.
yes. I mean, that's quite a way to end it for someone who's a potential rival down the road.
I guess that's right, but it was more of a Hallmark greeting card written by AI, except the AI one would be a little better. So I don't put too much stock in it. It was basically a placeholder. What I want to hear is what Karen Bass says about her, because, as you know, she shivved Karen Bass when Bass was rumored to be Biden's VP choice. All of a sudden, all this scandalous stuff came out about Karen Bass, and most people think it came from Kamala, and it's because she was rightly insecure that Biden might not pick her.
What kind of relationship do you think she's going to have over time with Gavin Newsom, as both of them are gearing up to run for president? Both of them have hired A. Smith, the same strategist, to run their statewide campaigns here in California, who was able to successfully always negotiate a truce between the two of them to keep them from running against one another. He would find comparable offices for each of them to have, so they never bumped heads. But if both of them want to be president, and that's the last stop on the subway for each of them, there's no way to prevent that from happening in 2028. What do you see happening to their relationship over time?
I see it deteriorating, John. I think they'll be testy, and I think they'll come to dislike each other if they don't already, and they'll constantly be taking pot shots at each other, to the benefit of the other candidates in the race, perhaps, who won't be taking pot shots at each other. And it's great danger that Newsom would be so annoyed by Harris that he would concentrate his fire on her. I think he's too smart to do that. I'm not sure Harris is too smart to not take too many pot shots at Newsom. I don't think either of them is going to win.
Nancy Pelosi, she has long had a frosty relationship with Kamala Harris. Nancy Pelosi didn't like her, according to, most recently, Hunter Biden. Nancy Pelosi has never liked her. The two just don't get along personally. When Kamala Harris first ran for district attorney in San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi endorsed her opponent, Terrence Hallinan, who was the incumbent Democratic district attorney up there. And it was revealed that Nancy Pelosi preferred an open convention when she was the one that stuck the shiv into Grampy Joe to try to knock him out of the race, and was extremely disappointed when Joe came out and endorsed Kamala Harris after he dropped out of the race, to the point where Nancy Pelosi speculated that Joe didn't even write that letter. What do you think Nancy Pelosi is thinking right now? Do you think she thinks that we dodged a bullet, or is she worried that Kamala's going to run for president again?
Well, I think both. But I, the short run beats the long run in this case. I think she thinks that Kamala was potentially it wasn't necessarily going to be a train wreck if she ran, but it's like a big wet blanket on the Democratic field and on somebody who is potentially a real presidential candidate emerging from that field. So I would be breathing a huge sigh of relief. Pelosi, she does have quirky feuds. She hated Jane Harman, who was a perfectly competent, smart person. She wasn't the only person who hated Jane Harman, but there was no reason for her to do. She didn't. Jane, I like Jane. I worked for Jane briefly, but there were a lot of people in the Democratic Party who didn't like her. Maybe because she was rich or something. But there's no reason for Pelosi to have that feud, I don't think. So she may be a little difficult to get along with, but she's very smart. So I think her analysis of the presidential race, that they should have an open convention, was right. That was Obama's analysis too, and Biden sort of his last act of revenge was endorsing Harris. That said, it was better for the Democrats to run Harris than to run Biden. I think they did better in the House than they would have if they'd run Biden.
During the campaign, Kamala was very loyal to Joe, to the point to where when she went on The View and was asked what she would do differently, she really had no answer to that question, and that really stung. Do you think that she continues to remain loyal to Joe over time, or now that Joe's not in the White House, do you think she starts pushing him under the bus?
Oh, I think he's already so far under the bus that she doesn't have to push him. She can just ignore that clattering down there in the wheel well. I think she's no longer that loyal. I think if she has a brain, she'll realize that Biden screwed her over by not allowing any daylight. But also, that answer on The View was still stupid. I mean, you come up with some bogus issue where you can disagree with Biden without pissing him off, if that's possible. He has a pretty thin skin, but it should be possible. You don't just sit there in stunned silence. And so it's really it's her fault as much as his. He famously said, "No daylight, kid," as in, there should be no daylight between you and me. And that was very, very bad advice and selfish advice, but she should have been able to get around it.
Who do you think Kamala gets behind for governor? My theory is that it's Eleni Kounalakis. The two of them have apparently been friends for a while. Eleni, one of the top 10 richest families in the state of California, has donated very generously to Kamala over the years. And if Kamala wants to run for president, having another billionaire Democratic donor behind you won't hurt.
That sounds like an astute analysis. I'm not that familiar with what the Democratic field is like, so I shouldn't really opine about it. If you mention some names to me, I may hate some or love some. But is Rick Caruso still pretending to be a Democrat?
He is, yes, as of today.
Okay. Well, I was for him until he took that incredibly wimpy stand on immigration during the Home Depot raids, and I thought that would make me write him off forever, but it didn't. I'm now sort of his subsequent reactions to things have been so right that I sort of am back in his camp. I guess everybody who's running for office in California has to be weak on immigration.
Mickey Kaus, editor of the Kaus Files. You can get him online at kausfiles.com and follow him on X at KausMickey. Mickey, thanks so much for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, John.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do what George Gascon likes to do to himself in the middle of the night.
Do a Google on YouTube.
You can get the KABC app. You can get the KSFO app. It's the easiest ways to listen live to our radio stations and download all the podcasts.
Quite frankly.
All right. Kamala Harris says she will not be running for governor here in the state of California in 2026. A lot of people were waiting for her to make a decision, including candidates and many voters. I want to know, what say you about Kamala Harris passing on running for governor of California at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. Let's work in another call or two and then move on to the California crime blotter. Let's go to Kenneth in Sacramento. Kenneth, hello.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
All right. So point one with Kamala, maybe she thought Newsom was going to step down after have it handed to her like she had the primary handed to her. So maybe she knew that wasn't going to happen and had to resign, but that's neither here nor there. What I really wanted to get to was with the Democratic Party going through their death throes, they kind of ignored the Kilmar Abrego Garcia MS-13 gang member thing, and I wonder if they kind of wanted to get your opinion. I wonder if they just weren't getting enough traction because people can't see themselves supporting an MS-13 gang member. So now they switched their focus and they found, I don't know if you guys have heard the story, but there's some pastor that snuck in the country 30 years ago and has been here and, now he's being deported. And it's like, cool, he broke our laws 30 years ago. Why, because they're trying to draw on maybe like the Catholic support and maybe get like the religious crowd behind them, even though they spit on our religion and Catholics. So I just kind of wanted to get your feel on it.
Yeah, I mean, he would be a better poster child for them, a man of the cloth, than a gang member. The fact that they were all getting behind a gang member who apparently beat his wife and was trafficking people and here illegally and fill in the blank, other crimes that were committed by this guy, I never understood. You want to talk about someone who people would look at and say, yeah, he's here illegally and he did all these bad things, kick him out. That seems like a no-brainer. They're going to move on to figures that they regard as more sympathetic, and I would expect them to do more of that. But who knows? I mean, if they embraced a gang member before, maybe they'll do it again. Thank you for the call, sir. All right, it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And, Randy, the first edition of the blotter involves a bunch of people who were randomly attacked for no reason in San Francisco.
It's a bunch of terrorizing teens in Stonetown. Here we go. Here's a report on what's going on with NBC in the Bay Area.
New at 11, a group of teenagers terrorizing people in San Francisco. There are multiple investigations into unprovoked attacks. The latest one over the weekend with police making some arrests.
By the way, these are like 13 and 14-year-old girls and an 11-year-old girl filming the attacks.
Girls?
Girls.
Now, I don't know if you saw this, but recently in the WNBA, one of their wigs fell off in the middle of the competition. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Over the course of these random attacks by these teenage girls, any wigs fall off?
Not that I know of.
Let's bring in NBC's Gia Vang in the city for us this evening with the new details. Gia.
Well, Raj, SFPD is saying the youngest that they let go, just 11 years old.
What the hell? An 11-year-old girl is participating in these beatdowns?
Okay, put the parents in jail. If you have an 11-year-old who's that nasty already, whatever you're doing isn't working.
Especially if it's a girl. If you raised a little girl to be that kind of a monster, you might be one of the worst parents we've ever seen. Little boys are little jackasses, but a little girl does that? What the hell?
Well, Raj, SFPD is saying the youngest that they let go, just 11 years old. All were detained at Stonestown Mall, and then all were released back to their parents there as well.
So a group of teenage girls go to the mall, and instead of just saying something nasty about girls to give them an eating disorder, they're just beating them up.
Okay, before we get to the violins and, I wonder if there weren't enough after-school programs for these kids, and I wonder if we didn't give them enough health care and nutrition and other social services. It doesn't matter what you do at this point. All of these girls are going to end up in prison as adults. The die is already cast.
And then all were released back to their parents there as well. A family we spoke with who was impacted by one attack says they can't help but feel angry and also targeted. The scene outside of the Metreon, an entertainment and shopping center in San Francisco's Soma neighborhood, is much different tonight than that of Saturday afternoon. Witnesses so shaken after what they saw, they want to remain anonymous, fearing for their safety. We've also disguised their voice.
I saw...
Boy, everyone is disguising their voice these days.
Because they know it's just open season.
I saw what was two people pulling a girl's hair and then punches and kicks on her. And then
While they filmed this for some kind of social media account, because I guess you can profit off of this.
Well, if you know you're not going to go to jail, you know they're just going to give you a slap on the wrist, but you're going to get 8 zillion views on TikTok, why not?
and then I quickly saw blood. I saw the attackers shift to a second victim.
San Francisco police say in this case, it was a group of teens who attacked two unsuspecting people outside of the Hey Tea shop. They arrested a 13 and 14-year-old girl.
And by the way, there's been more details that have come out of this recently. Apparently, both of the women that were attacked, and I think they were both teenagers that were attacked, were both Asian.
I see. So it could be a racially motivated attack.
Could be.
They arrested a 13 and 14-year-old girl. Both were cited and released to their parents.
An 11-year-old was also implicated in the crime, and that 11-year-old was released and after being admonished.
So they don't even cite an 11-year-old for participating in these beatdowns that they filmed. They give them a strong talking to.
No, this is why the cartels use underagers to move the drugs, because they know that if we catch the underagers, we're not going to do anything to them. You get a free pass. Word gets out.
But that's not the only case. Police are investigating at least 5 apparent unprovoked attacks that began early July involving a group of juveniles with similar suspect descriptions. They could be the same group that on July 11th around 6 p.m. beat up a 13-year-old crossing the street at Lombard near Mason. The teen's mother wants to remain anonymous, so we're blurring her. She said they were just visiting the city and then she heard her daughter scream.
One girl was wrapping my daughter's hair and hitting continuously to her head.
Whoa!
So I assume that this victim was Asian too.
Yes. It's specifically Asian girls that are being targeted by this group of teenage girls.
And one girl was filming while other girls were looking. We just want to find out the reason, and then we want to hopefully get the justice. I just hope more people aware of this.
On July 14th, another woman reported an unprovoked attack on Folsom in Maine. I learned through witnesses and some victims that many of those ambushed are of Asian descent.
Yep.
What is the deal with this? Because we've done this story not just about, I guess now, Asian teenage girls who are now being attacked, but for a long time it was elderly Asian people who would be walking down the street who would get sucker punched or attacked for no reason too.
You can kind of see, are they targeting Asian women? I don't know, for whatever reason.
But police are stopping short of that.
We have a number of incidents where not everyone matches the similar description. We are looking into...
So it's just a coinky-dink?
Yeah, right.
We are looking into hate aspect. At this time, there is no evidence.
Supervisor Matt Dorsey, who represents the area, including the Metreon, is also calling out the success of Prop E, which gave the police department more access to surveillance cameras that helped catch the suspects shortly after the weekend attack.
I think as we are seeing more and more successes about how our police department is using surveillance technology, we as policymakers need to take a look at our surveillance technology ordinance.
In San Francisco, Gia Vang, NBC Bay Area News.
So there you go. These monstrous teen girls beating up a whole bunch of teen girls all around San Francisco for no apparent reason except to film it and I guess make money off of it.
Well, it's just like what goes on at the jewelry stores and what goes on at the 7-Elevens. It's a crime that everyone knows is going on. For whatever reason, the city government allows it to go on, and they're playing with fire. Because guess what? At some point, one of these packs of teens is going to attack the wrong girl, and that girl is going to have a big brother or a father who may not be in the frame but is there, and that person is going to beat the living hell out of these sons of bitches, and they're going to have it coming.
I think they're daughters of that.
What?
They're not SOBs, they're DOBs.
Well, they can choose whatever gender they want to be. But that's what's going to happen, and then you know how it's going to be portrayed in the media. Well, these girls were just having a little fun, and they decided to, attack someone, and then an adult or someone who's much larger than them stepped in and went way over the line. And now this person needs to go to jail because these poor girls have been injured. That's how it's going to be portrayed. Well, you don't want that to happen. You shut this down right now. And the fact that they're bending over backwards to say it's not racially motivated is real rich, because this is the same crowd that sees race in every aspect of life.
Yes, but it's usually a one direction kind of thing. And let's just say the teen girl suspects in question, they're not white.
Yeah, so that's the reason they don't want to pursue hate crime charges, because that's a bad look. They want to make it seem like, oh, they've been attacked because Donald Trump called it the China virus, or whatever storyline it is that they're putting out, which, of course, is not true. They're being targeted for being Asian, but it's not from the crowd that they assume it would come from. So therefore, hear no evil, see no evil. Oh, no, it's just random attacks. If they don't want people assuming that they're targeting Asian people for random beatings, then stop doing it. It's not that hard. And those parents up there, get with the program. Because if your little kids are running around acting like this, guess what? You're going to be a grandparent raising all of their kids. Because they're going to be in prison. And instead of spending your golden years doing whatever the hell it is you think you're going to be doing, no. You're going to be watching your grandkids beating up random people at the mall. So stop it now. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Mike writes in on the Kamala news at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com with a subject line I cannot read on the air. I hope Kamala is not running due to a potential run for president because Gavin's head would explode.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes the Gypsy Kings featuring Nicholas Reyes at the Greek Theater on August 9th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Nederlander Concerts. Good luck dialing.
All right, let's go to Bill in Irvine. Bill, hello.
Hey, John, I have 2 quick points. Number one, isn't it interesting we know the race of the victims, but we don't know the race of the perpetrators? I think we can assume we know the race, but it's unfortunate that we never get to know the details of crimes anymore. We have to actually go to Google and research photos and videos to find out what really went on. But here's my main point. Listen, if you're Asian and you are living in San Francisco, Oakland, you must carry pepper spray. Pepper gel is even better because there's no blowback when in a windy situation. These young girls who were victimized should have been carrying pepper spray or pepper gel. It's impossible to carry a gun, can still carry, or any other weapon really in California. So pepper spray, pepper gel is legal, and Asian girls, young girls, anyone who's walking around in public these days has to have some kind of defense. These girls who committed these violent attacks, they should have been sprayed in the face and then dial 911 and have the police arrest them. That's all I need to say on that.
Here's the thing, though. When you carry a weapon on you, whether it be pepper spray, pepper gel, whatever, you kind of forget that it's there. And I know people who carry it with them from time to time because they live in areas that are unsafe, or they're afraid they're going to get attacked by an animal if they're taking their dog for a walk early in the morning, whatever the case may be. One of the things that I have heard is that they forget about it, and then they go to the airport, and then they go, oh, what is this? And then they confiscate it. You don't get it back, and you forget to go get a new one.
That's true. But, if they confiscate the airport, pepper spray, it's $10-20, you're going to be out. But here's the thing. I teach my wife or my daughter, when you're walking around, you keep it in your hand. Keep it in your hand, and you're ready to go. Because you're right. If it's in your purse and they knock you down, your purse is on the floor, it's all look, the first most important thing, they have to have it. Whether it's in their hand or not, but I feel so bad for these girls getting attacked or these elderly people getting attacked, and they're defenseless. And, these attackers need to be taught a lesson. The first lesson is pepper spray in their face, and that'll knock them out until the police comes. So
Yeah, and the motivation for these attacks appears to be notoriety. Because if they're filming it, they're not filming it for their own personal consumption. They're filming it because they plan on putting it on social media and getting a lot of likes and a lot of followers.
I think you throw their phone into the ocean.
Yeah. The fact that you're filming for TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, that should be an additional crime. Filming a crime should be a crime in addition to the crime itself. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, maybe their punishment should be they should have their cell phones replaced by rotary phones at home.
Only a jitterbug until you're 18.
Well, they're under 18 too. The perpetrators are under 18, so they're probably not even they won't even get a court date. They'll just get a citation, pay a $50 fine. Who knows? Ridiculous.
Here's Chuck Schumer's flip phone. This is what you're sentenced to.
Comes with a set of readers.
Thank you for the call, sir. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for another edition of The John Phillips Show.